To have you on discussion segment of ABS Good Morning Anambra this lovely Friday morning, the 21st day of March 2025. And this morning we shall be talking about preserving our forests for food security and sustainability. That's in commemoration of the 2025 International Day of Forest. And that's the theme, going forest and good. Well, preservation of the forest is very, very important, sincerely speaking, I must say, because most of what we eat, both the livestock and our food, comes from the forest, and we need to really preserve that. And in the studio this morning, we have Dr. Onyekachi Chukwu, who is a HOD Forestry and Wildlife University of Nnamdi Azikiwe University. Is also the founder, Green Initiative for Humanitarian Aid and Development. That is Green IHAD. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, talking about preserving our forests for food and security, for sustainability. In commemoration of the International Day of Forest, I never knew there were days like this designed for the forest. But then, the theme is what really catches my fancy this morning, talking about the forest and good. Can you please break it down for us so that we can know actually how do we preserve our forest and for what good is it to the environment and to mankind?
Okay, thank you very much for having me. Of course, I must first appreciate ABS for always marking this day. And that shows the fact that you are all inclusive. Talking about forest itself, forest we term it as the lungs of the earth, in the sense that the forest takes in carbon dioxide, which we breathe out, and give us the oxygen which we breathe in. And of course, forest taking in carbon dioxide is a storehouse for carbon, which is one of the harmful gas that causes climate change. Okay, and of course, climate change is no more news, that it's real. We can see the evidence of climate change. We can see the impact of climate change everywhere. But beyond climate change, I want to stick to what we have for today. Forest also provides man food. Okay, and that is why this team's World Forest Day or International Day of the Forest is forests and food. Yeah, because you can't separate both. Forests provide us food as nuts, as herbs, as tubers, as fruits, and so on and so forth. Probably when we dive into the...
All right, now you are HOD Forestry and Wildlife, Nnamdi Azikiwe University. You're also the founder, Green Initiative for Humanitarian Aid and Development. And I know that all these all efforts get towards making people understand the need or the importance of taking care of our forests. Yes. I know that before now, our country, Nigeria, are concerned about virtually everything that concerns us as humans. But today, the case seems to be, no longer the way it used to be. So what actually inspired your forming that NGO when it comes to forest? This is my first time of hearing such.
Yes, sincerely speaking, what actually informed, beyond my bias in forestry, the fact that I studied forestry first, second, and third degree, I found out that the field, despite being as old as the existence of man, is not still known by people. And of course, when I got admission to the University of Maiduguri, the first time I heard the word forestry was on the admission list. I never knew something like that existed. I tried all I could to change my course because I wanted to study medicine. Okay, I couldn't. But I discovered destiny was actually calling me. So I was like, I'm a kind of person that I said I won't depend on the government to do everything for me. Why not create a platform to also do something for the government or for the environment? So came up with that platform, Green Initiative for Humanitarian Aid and Development. It has the humanitarian aspect of it and the development and the green aspect of it, where we tell people about the importance of planting trees, the importance of the environment, keeping our environment clean, and so on and so forth, because these are things that basically we need. So even beyond that, I went ahead to coin a personal project called eco-evangelism. You know, picking that passion from evangelists. You know, evangelists goes raw, go to war zone and so on to talk about the gospel. So I was like, let me talk about the environment, forest, using that same aggressiveness, using that same zeal and enthusiasm. So also beyond that, as a non-governmental organization, it also creates platform to employ youths. Yeah, because non-government...
It's like your idea is kind of tallying with what the government of Anambra State is currently doing.
Yes.
You know, a situation whereby, I don't know whether you people had meeting before, you know. So actually, how far or what and what, or in what areas have you really done something in Anambra State as regards forestry?
Yes, as regards forestry, we started because our NGO is headquartered in Maiduguri. Of course, that's my root, where I had my first degree and so on. So, and while I started working here, I said, charity begins at home. This is where it gives me my daily bread.
You're
and
from
of
Anambra?
course, no, I'm not from Anambra.
Okay.
I'm from Ebonyi State.
Okay.
So, I brought a liaison office here. And since bringing the liaison office 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we've been able to go across some secondary schools to establish environmental clubs, because we'll catch them young. There are things I want to force you to know now. You have built your belief system to an extent. You might not be able to take in some new things to an extent, but the young ones, we targeted the young ones. Of course, in Anambra State, we are collaborating with so many organizations to raise seedlings and plant trees. And of course, I think your former MD, we've also worked with him while he was in erosion, I think drainage and forest, whatever. We've also worked with him. We're working with the Ministry of Environment via the Department of Forestry, the Department of Ecology, to also do one or two things within the state for humanity to feel our impact. Also, bringing it to Anambra, I had a dream, because each time Anambra is the headquarter of gully erosion. And I find out that when these things happen, there are no indigenous NGOs that blow the trumpets of this thing. So I felt, why not come into Anambra, have a plan, you know, because once this flooding comes, a lot of people are displaced, you know, and there should be an organization that will mediate between them and probably donor agencies and whatever, because when flood come, a lot of things happen. Okay, then in terms of preventing the flood, we also come in to see, okay, let's plant trees, let's clear our drainage, and so on and so forth.
Now, well, very, very laudable ideas you have there, and then the eco-evangelism you're talking about. But I think where I believe you might, you know, probably hit a brick wall is the area of expansion of estates that is ongoing almost every nook and cranny. Lands that were once green vegetation, virgin lands, are now being turned into estates. Isn't that going contrary to the belief of nature, and then we preserving our forest for food security? Is there no ways you can partner with the state government so that we can have green areas where these are on places that shouldn't be touched, you understand, for posterity, and then, you know, preserving Mother Nature to the best of our ability?
Yeah, I think you've actually struck the area that is making my heart bleed, especially in Anambra State. We can't shy away from the fact that we are not doing well here. Yeah, like we used to know about Akbaka Forest in Onitsha, and today Akbaka Forest is just forest reserve. That forest reserve was properly constituted and gazetted. Now, today if you go there, the name of the place is still Akbaka Forest, but you won't see any forest there. We have our Mamu Forest Reserve, okay? Mamu Forest Reserve, recently I heard that probably the government or whatever has given out that place for development of estates. Recently, I think on ABS, I saw some people protesting. I can't really remember then. The people, indigenous people, for their own share of land and so on and so forth. And nobody is talking about the value, you know, everything is not about money. There are things money cannot buy for you, okay? You go to Achala Forest Reserve. Achala Forest Reserve has been taken over by the community, and of course, people don't even go there. When I came in to UNIZIK as a young lecturer, although I'm still young, you know, we had that enthusiasm because I was coming from Ibadan, where these things work, Ogun State, where the state depends on the forest for even income and so many things, where you have the hub of timber activities and so on and so forth. So when we came here, you know, with that enthusiasm, I wanted to do research in Akbaka, I wanted to do research in Mamu Forest Reserve, you know, and on internet, you see them as forest reserves. So when we came on ground, we visited Mamu. They said, no, when you go to Achala, you will see the main thing. We went to Achala, and lo and behold, of course, I can't say that there are no patches of trees, but those things are no more there. And my advice to our government...
Sorry, before you give advice, is it that the people do not know that there are, you know, that forest has its importance to humans, or that they've forgotten that the forests there are for purposes, for good purpose, or for our own good? Now, as an NGO, you have an NGO, is there any way you can, you know, try to reach out to people for us to maybe start afresh, to enlighten them that these are the needs of humans. You know, these are the importance of forests. Are you people doing such things, and how far have you gone with that evangelism?
Yes, we started eco-evangelism last year because I felt that beyond the NGO, because NGO is not an individual. I'm just the founder, okay? And as a founder, you also have limits to what you can do, okay? So I also decided to start a program on my own, eco-evangelism, where I engage myself. So on the NGO part, we are doing so much advocacy, sensitization, and so on. On my own part, I think that eco-evangelism won me the Climate Change Voice of the Year last year. That award was given to me in India, okay? And of course, because of the input, we're using social media, we're using all means possible. Okay, like my regalia was motivated. The fact that when I come out with it, you want to ask, what is this representing? Then I'll have an opportunity to talk to you about it. So even as head of department, I also discovered something, and we're creating solution, that there are no forest extensionists. There are no environmental reporters. Enough. Several times I've come to ABS, you know, I wish to see somebody who carries this issue of environment on his head, just like Oluchi Onluibo, I think, of TVC. Now, what I did as head of department is to come up with a program called Forest Extension and Environmental Communication. That program is still in the pipeline, and hopefully in 2 months' time, it will be approved as for MSc and PhD, where people can come in to study this forestry, you know, and now have skills. In that particular course, people from mass communication will be teaching, because we need these skills to tell people about, you know, convincing people, or media itself, it's a skill, you know, that you know forestry very well. I can be a guru in forestry, but I cannot tell you about forestry the way you will understand it. So we saw the need to come up with an area that people will take it upon themselves, understand these things we're talking, and find a way via any means, legal means to pass that same information.
Thank you so much, Dr. Onyekachi Chukwu. You've said a whole lot. But then my question is now, how do we balance it? Though we need the forest, for drugs, for food, and so many other things. But at the same time, we equally need the wood to build houses and to do things. So how do we balance this issue so that people don't get to arbitrarily abuse the fact that we need to preserve this thing? Is there need to propagate a law that should be passed at the National Assembly? Because I believe that once this thing becomes a law, it will help create more awareness, whereby you say, okay, a certain amount of land should be reserved in each state. Like we have the desert encroachment that is almost ravaging the northern part of Nigeria, and nobody seems to be talking about that. So can't we do some kind of things to help propagate this thing so that we don't have lands being taken away by sun when we can actually plant trees and then make the environment better?
Yeah, thank you, sir. To be sincere, Nigeria, we have so many laws that you don't even know about. Our problem is not law. Our problem is not policy. Our problem is political will. Okay? Could you just imagine why places like Akbaka, places like Asamari, places like Mamu were reserved ab initio? And this reservation of forest goes through chain of process, and if they say this is a forest reserve, you don't have two places being reserved with the same name. That's how sensitive that thing is. The whole world, if you say Mamu Forest Reserve, it's just one in the whole world. Just like having ABS. ABS is just ABS, no matter where you go. Now, but the problem is political will.
Political will on which side? The part of the federal government or the state government?
Now, we have problem with our land laws. The problem we have is all lands belong to the governor of a state. So, now, when you have probably a governor that is not environmental conscious, he goes to every land to de-reserve it, probably based on his or her mindset. Now, the whole world, every country is supposed to reserve about 25% of its land for forests. Okay?
25%?
Yes, 25%.
Wow.
So, but in Nigeria, we are struggling to have even up to that half, because even the one we have is being deforested on a daily basis. Okay? But that is one thing. The second part of your question is where sustainability comes. Sustainable management of any resource is, yes, use this resource, but use it in such a way that you don't deprive the future generation from using that same resource. Now, if every one of us will just build a house we need, I don't think we will have this trouble. But you find out that one person is having fleets of houses. Do we have that English, fleet? Okay, have plenty houses, and you can sleep in only one room. Mm-hmm. Okay, somebody is preserving wealth and houses, property for his 10th generation. And if we can just have what we need, I thank Anambra State government. Recently my research went into urban forestry. Yes, it's also in a bid to, okay, yes, you have deforested. Why not come and still plant trees within the urban area?
Since you were talking about Anambra being the capital of erosion in Nigeria.
Erosion, yes, gully erosion in Nigeria. Yeah, why not let's plant? There was a time Anambra State government brought in Ubuazono.
Yeah.
It's also a way of greening, because the more you start with something, a little bit, you move into from known to unknown. Gradually you say, okay, let's plant cashew, let's plant this, let's plant that. And when you go to outside abroad, you find out that even in mega cities, you still see green areas where these things are reserved. So we'll keep pushing. It's not a one-man effort. It's also, I'm also calling you in the media, calling people in the political space, calling people in the religious space to come together, because it's a community effort. It's not something that one person can actually do.
All right. I think at this point I would want you to let people understand the need to have forests again.
Okay, at this point I will code switch and code miss because we are in Igbo land and most of our audience still within the Igbo space. Sincerely speaking, it is very, very important to have forests. One, if you have forests, research have shown that people that stay close to the forest are more sane. Okay. Secondly, they live healthier. That is why when you go to your village and whatever, you rarely hear this mega sickness. Hypertension, cancer, and whatever, they don't exist in the village. They exist in the city. Okay? Yeah. They live healthier. And why do they live healthier? Because wherever you have tree, the air you breathe there is purified. Because even the tree supplies you oxygen. Okay, then it provides also food. Yeah, from the bush meat we take, okay, with wildlife, to the clean water we get from our water, streams and whatever. And even from the religious perspective, it's good to have forests. Christian religion, you find out that anytime Jesus Christ wants to pray, he goes to the forest. At a point, he even tells the apostles, stay here, disciples, stay here, let me go further. And we have religious benefit. And that is why even our daddy GOs or whatever, they will say, I'm going for camp. I'm going to the mountain. That is where you commune with God, as in direct access with God. I can give you several scriptural references. And originally, God planned that man will be close to the forest. That is why he created man in the Garden of Eden. Of course, I am contesting the word garden because most of the animals, you see, they are wild animals. It's the forest. It's a forest, of course. And it was because man failed to obey the rules of the forest that God chased man outside. And arguably, forestry and wildlife is the first profession in the earth because he told Adam to name trees. To name, animals and so on and so forth. And every other problem we have today came as a result of chasing man out of that original plan that is forest. Because medical problem came because from biblical account, he cursed the woman. Okay, that you won't give birth until you understand. And women have the most medical complications, arguably. Now, the man, agriculture was actually a second function. It's a second thought that you will suffer before you feed your family. So if you look at all these things, they are like cause. Why not let's get back? And my preaching in eco-evangelism is let's get back to God's original plan. Start planting trees gradually within your closet and so on, and mimic the Garden of Eden so that you stay close to God also.
You know, the people also live longer. People that have they live longer.
Yes, they live
I
longer.
wanted to confirm it because I've had it before.
Yes, they live longer.
Okay, and when we talk about this, you wanted to give advice before, and I think our time is fast spent. This is the right time now to do it. What we need to do, not just having forests, but taking care of the forest to avoid all these snakes that could bite people. So let us really get to understand that.
Yes, I know we've done so many tree planting campaign, audio tree planting campaign, where people will just snap 2-3 trees and say we've planted 1 million trees. Okay, of course, we appreciate your effort. But beyond planting trees, there's something we call PPN. Okay, plants, protect and nurture. Okay, because after planting and you cannot nurture it to maturity, you have not really done enough. While nurturing, you need to protect it. Okay, so I want to advise the government and individuals. Beyond, everything in life have its own intrinsic and extrinsic value. Yeah. Now, you might have the monetary value and the non-monetary value. And usually the non-monetary values are those ones that you cannot quantify in monetary terms. And they are very, very key. For instance, let me give us a shocking thing. Before now, you see vultures everywhere. Okay? But these days, you don't see them.
Yeah, I've had that discussion.
It's a problem because we have destroyed even their habitat and so on. Before now, all this Ebola, it's from the wild. When you destroy their habitat, they will come closer to man. You know, God has designed most of, like you talk of reptiles and whatever. On a normal ground, those things, God has designed their food chain to be in this area. Okay, and everything you see that has breath in life has its own ecological function. So you don't know, most of these strange ailments we are hearing, maybe they are natural inhabitants, they are natural regulators. Their habitats have been destroyed. And of course, they will look for, you know, so matter can never be created nor destroyed. Just transform from one form to another. Probably they'll now come to human for human to serve us. So I'm advising everybody, let's pay more attention to this. And to our government, I am not the kind of person that will say government provide funds. Government just provide us enabling environments. As organization, there are so many non-governmental organizations, so many intergovernmental organizations that are willing to come into the state and contribute their own quota. Just give us enabling environment, and you will see Nigerians doing well in every sector.
Thank you so much. Well, we want to say a very big thank you to you. Thank you for availing yourself the opportunity to be here and talking about the need for us to preserve our forests and the likes of it, the benefits and all whatnot.
Actually, this is an eye-opener. There is something that he said last that I would like, he's going to make a comeback for more discussion on forestry, because a lot of things he has said here, I was like, what actually has happened to us as humans? But I believe that authorities concerned are watching, and that something could be done faster than we think about forestry in our climate.
Thank you so much. We want to use this opportunity to thank you, Dr. Onyekachi, for availing yourself the opportunity to be here. HOD, Forestry and Wildlife, Nnamdi Azikiwe University. Also the founder, Green Initiative for Humanitarian Aid and Development, Green IHAD. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me, ABS, and thank you, the government, for also making this place still exist. It's Green IHAD.
All right, okay. Green IHAD. All right, we're rounding up for this segment, but we are leaving you here with a vox pop. Let's feel that you see how people feel about what we have discussed.
I think the government has taken a positive step towards it by plantation. I think that's the only way to go, because the benefit of forestry, it cannot be overemphasized. It helps the climate and all of that. So yes, as much as development is coming, there are falling of trees for timber and whatever, materials, there is also need for it to be preserved. So I think it's important, maybe the government can step in to map out places or where trees should not be falling. You understand? Where we can preserve our vegetation, our green vegetation, and our forestation as well.
The basic need is that government to look towards these things and make sure that the number one aspect is that they should just replant trees. That's where is necessary and where is needed. These are ways to preserve our forests. And because subsequently we find out that the increment of gas are becoming something that farmers now need firewood to survive. So the government should help in the planting trees to make things more easier and to preserve the forest. I think these are the basic things that is needed for now. So government should help the citizens by replanting trees, because the forest now is becoming so useful to every human being.
No matter how much the development expands into urban areas, there should be preservation for green vegetation, for forestation and all of that, so that human beings and of course plants and all that can interact and coexist peacefully.
To preserve forests, take the timber dealers, all those people that walk into a tree to cut the tree. Don't allow them to cut the tree. Especially in this Anambra, we don't get forest reserve. We don't get people who are in charge of forests. It's not in Anambra. If they are there, most of them will enter bush and cut through. Like in Edo, it's not easy to enter forest and get through. Now, we can encourage We can encourage planting of trees by making sensitization. And telling them the import or the importance of having trees around us. Because having trees around us, they say in science, a human being breathes out carbon dioxide, and what do you call it? Tree brings out what? Carbon oxygen, which we inhale. Okay. Now we encourage the need to have trees all around us.